What's going on, guys? It's Noah Spockman, and today we're going to be watching It Follows. So, for this project, we know that it has to be completely dark. You gotta make it as scary as possible. And on top of all that, we gotta be prepared for those jump scares, and it's gonna get to my mind. I know my weak mind ain't gonna take this. So, I'm gonna show you around what I have in place. So, over here, here's the movie, the TV. I'm gonna have that door open, and that door's already open. And these doors are the scariest, I think, in my whole house. I always had nightmares about them. I would open those, but they're kind of broken already, so I can't really open them. Just me by myself. Phone is going to be not even in this room, just so I don't have a distraction. On top of all of that, completely dark, like I said, and I will talk to you after the movie. Before I begin, this is what everything looks like. Pitch black. Alright, here we go. So when I talk about the signal detection theory, I'd have to say when watching this movie, with it being completely dark, and on top of all of that, the noise that I don't know if you can hear that, but that room one of the rooms over there that I opened, it has our water softener and the electricity to help with that run the house. So a lot of that was ticking off and on as the movie progressed. Top of that, people upstairs, the creaking of my floor steps, which I know I've been known that every day, but when it's completely dark and the scenery in front of me, I can't see around me. It makes it even more scary and terrifying knowing that it's completely dark and I'm all alone. And then on top of all that, like I heard a little bit of noises. My dog didn't bark, thank the Lord. That would have scared the crap out of me. I also didn't really hear as much, but I thought much. Like, I thought that people were going to be behind me, and I thought other things of that nature. The next vocab word that I'm going to talk about is context effect. I mean, this movie by itself is pretty scary, I have to say. Adding it to a dark room, alone, no contact to the outside world, door closed, it's just so freaking scary. It messed with my mind, to be honest with you. I don't really watch horror movies by myself, especially in my basement, which I think is the creepiest place in my whole freaking house, with the creepiest doors that I opened. One of them is still open, but I didn't want to get, I was too lazy to get it, but all those things played with my mind, and I usually just look to my left and look to my right, because I would always imagine someone sitting there with me, because I always sit with someone at a horror movie. So that really just played a huge part in my mind and how I viewed this movie. Another vocab word that we're going to talk about is perceptual set. Watching this movie, there was a ton of jump scares, but the jump scares that I was hoping were going to happen weren't actually jump scares. They were just very tenseful moments. There was one moment where she goes to the hospital, and after she crashed her car, not her car, Gregory's car, into a cornfield, and what happened is that she woke up in the hospital bed, and everyone was sleeping, and she kept looking to her right and looking to her left, and I was assuming when she looked to her right that the person that was going to come in was it, and it wasn't. It was the nurse just walking by, and then it stopped the scene, and then cut to another one where she just looked to her left, and I always picture that at night, and it just scares me. Like, you look to your right and then no one's there, and then when you look to your left, oh my god, someone's there. And I thought that was gonna happen. The music changed up, and it went from a little retro type of music to a very siren type of music, and I thought something was gonna happen. Another part that happened was probably the beginning. I mean, it played a very good part in this movie and made me want to watch it more, knowing what it was. And it was crazy. It almost looks like in the mind of another person that the people look like they have schizophrenia or some mental illness, but they can't see the person. So like when I in the beginning part when the person sits on the beach, I forgot her name, you would assume that you'd see the it, but it cuts to a scene and her leg is torn up. So there's some little parts in there that really got me going and kind of got me jumping and yelling some cuss words. The next one we're going to talk about is visual capture. I can only point out one memorable moment where I thought of it as a visual capture. And the it itself didn't really make that many noises. It usually just walked and creeped on people. It didn't really have that violent, scary eeriness to it. And so one of them, the only one I can think of by itself, would be when they're at the beach hunting house, and it took in the shape of these curious neighbor boys that always spied on the girl next door who they thought was very hot. And so the it took in the shape of one of the little boys, and when the door was breaking down, the little boy slash it was crawling through making a loud screaming noise. And when you watch the movie and you focus more on the movie, it tended to look like it really was coming out of the boy's mouth. It was no speaker, it was no special effects. It looked very, very real, and that really spoke to me as what it was as a visual capture. So next we're going to talk about is selective attention. So when I was watching this movie, there was some parts where like I said, looked to my right and looked to my left, thinking that someone was there with me, because I usually watch scary movies not by myself because I'm too big of a puss. Sorry, excuse my language, I am. So I would look and then focus back on, but because I looked away, it was kind of hard for me to get going. I had to wait a few seconds to get vision on the movie. And sometimes I'd actually look behind me because, speaking of it or not, whenever I look behind me, it brings back to Paranormal Activity when the girl snapped his neck when he was watching TV on the couch. So that always left a little mark on me and always made me look behind me when I watch a scary movie. Also just little sounds really just got to me. The water softener, like I said earlier, creaking upstairs. Sometimes I'd look and get paranoid. I would get goosebumps and shake. And it really just got to me and got away from the movie. Next, I'm going to talk about sensory adaptation. So, there was a ton of parts in this movie where I thought, yeah, this is going to happen, or, yeah, she's dead, she's doing something stupid, she's doing a white girl problem. We all seen this in every single movie. But actually, in this movie, there wasn't a ton of that. There was a lot of, wait and see, maybe there'll be a jump scare, maybe not. There were actually parts where there weren't jump scares, but there was the change in music where I thought, man, you gotta do this, gotta hide, man, but it wasn't. There was actually less jump scares than what I would thought, but there was parts where I'm like, yeah, that's gonna happen. It didn't really mess with my sensory adaptation, but it really messed with me knowing what was gonna happen as well. But I was very surprised on how I was able to adapt to this movie, but yet not knowing what was going to happen. Next, I'm going to talk about sensory deprivation. So when I was watching this movie, I was mostly focused on it. The plot was very good. Acting was very well, so it was a very decent movie. But there were points where the music was very not so loud. There wasn't much going on in the movie, as there wasn't much action. So yeah, I did notice a few things. I noticed the creaking upstairs on the floorboard. I noticed the water softener being super loud. Almost wanted to close my door, but I didn't want to get in the way of what was going on in the movie. I did notice that, actually there was things I didn't notice too because of the movie. I didn't notice how dark it was, honestly. It didn't really have an effect on me over time and how it was completely dark because I was just so focused on the movie and how the movie projected light. So, at first I was scared about the darkness, but as the movie progressed, I mainly focused on the movie itself, so I forgot about the darkness. So not least, I'm going to talk about ambiguity. So the movie had a lot of ambiguity. It took on factors of other people, one of which was a girl peeing while it walked. Super weird, super spooky. The music was very retro. I'd actually put it to Stranger Things, which was cool. I liked it, but the way they played it was a continuous beat, which made it scary and eerie. And there was parts where it went very low to very high, which also was very spooky. Also, the villain didn't have a mask, but what made it super weird and spooky is that it would kill its victims by sex or sexual actions, which was very weird and spooky as well. And the scenery was very weird. Towards the end of the movie almost, they tried to kill the It in a pool where the main characters met and they had their first kiss, and didn't work out as planned. They thought it worked, and I thought the scenery of that place was very old and very ancient. Then it left a very spooky reel on the whole scene. And at the very end, when you think it's over, it was following the two main characters away, and they thought it was over, but it really wasn't. So it could lead into another movie, but that also is very eerie, knowing that someone else was walking behind you and you didn't even know it. No, you said you didn't want this to be a movie review, but guess what? It's a 3 out of 4 stars. Go see it.